Hey, we're gonna do another stripped bolt repair today.
Insanely cool cars, tool reviews, and auto repair videos.
Hey, we're gonna do another stripped bolt repair today. And normally we use Helicals, which I'll show you in just a second, because we've normally got bolts stripped out here in the bottom part of the case on these transmissions. We've got a whole drawer full of Helicals I've accumulated, all different sizes and all different sets. And mostly I don't have the little cases anymore, so I just pile them up in here, and I keep all my different size inserts, mostly the 6mm, the 8mm. I've got a few other sizes here. This repair is going to be a little bit more involved than a helical. So no, it's not the Corvette, it's not the Jaguar, it's not the other Corvette, it's not even the Mustang. It's the Kirby. Yep, it's the Kirby vacuum cleaner. This whole thing just will not die, but it does have a problem every once in a while. And right now, this bolt is stripped out right here. And it normally would be the same procedure as any of the transmission or engine bolts stripped out, but we have a shoulder bolt here. And if you can fix something like this, you'll be able to fix anything on any engine, any transmission, any head, any car part. So we have a shoulder bolt that has another part that sits in here between it, and a spring that helps push this part up against the casing. So this has to be right. And part of the problem here we have is this shoulder bolt only has a 1/4 inch threaded portion that goes in here, and I'll show you how we find that out. Now, before you helical or tap anything, you need to determine the size you're working with. And we have American Standard all down through here, and then metric all up through here. And then we have threads per inch down through here. And what we've determined is that this is 1/4, because the 5/16 is quite a bit bigger. It won't fit in this 10. It won't fit down here. The 7 is too big. The 6 is too small. It won't go down in there. It's way smaller than the 8, which is roughly the same size as 5/16. Normally, we would determine that this is a 1/4, and we'd use a 1/4 helical set, and we'd helical it. I'm going to tap this out. See, this is 1/4 to 5/16, and you see I've got a drawer full of 5/16 stuff here. I found just the right length bolt. Let me show you. Now, I've checked the cover that goes over here, and I have room for a little bit longer bolt, and that's what I've done. And I'm putting a washer here, the spring, and then another washer. This way, it can still press up against this piece, but that's going to leave it really, really wobbly, because this 5/16 bolt would be in this hole like this, and look at all that extra space. Plus, you don't want that surface rub it up against threads. It will wear this surface. So what I've got here is a dowel pin to simulate a shoulder. Put that dowel pin right in there, and then the bolt fits neatly in the dowel pin, and it can all go right up in there. But I still have to tap this hole bigger to be able to accept the larger 5/16 bolt. I need to use a tool like this to determine the threads per inch so that I get the right tap. I already know it's 5/16. So over here, you wouldn't want to use any of these helical taps for that. Instead, I have a tap and die set, which this isn't one of the more expensive tap and die sets off the tool truck or something. I'll give you a link in the description to a good cheap tap and die set that's good for DIY and home use. If you're going to be doing tapping stuff all the time, you might want to get a more expensive set. But these do really good. Since I'm semi-retired, I don't do as much of this anymore. This set does just fine. Now, to double check, I like to throw the tap I'm going to use right up against the bolt and make sure that the threads do line up and they are the same number of threads per inch. Not sure if you can see that real good on the camera or not, but they go down in each other and fit perfectly like a puzzle piece. I want to drill this out just slightly larger. That I might need to go a little bit larger than that. You want to be mindful of what's behind where you're drilling. I've got an impeller for the motor here behind here, but there's plenty of room between the blades. Ironically, I will have to vacuum out the vacuum before I turn it on. Put your tap in there, tighten it up. It's like a little vise in there. Okay, my crankshaft here is getting in the way. So I'm going to have to come up with a better way of holding this. There is another handle in here that you can use. See this piece right here? And then up here is this little handle. Let me show you how that works. Okay, the die goes in there. Shove it in there. You tighten that collet down. It's kind of like the drill. Tighten it down in there. And now you have a smaller handle, but you've got more length right here. That should get us away from that drive shaft. I have in the past had to take a pair of vice grips and grab hold of the tap with a pair of vice grips to get it down where I need it to be. Now, this is a softer metal than usual. In harder metals, you go a little bit, back off, go a little bit, back off, go a little bit, back off. And you may have to use something like a little PB blaster or something and give it just a little squirt to lubricate the tool. This does two things. It makes it easier for the tool to cut, and it also keeps your tool from wearing out and getting dull with use. It's going to have some wear no matter what you do with each use, just like a drill bit does, but it don't have to have any more wear than necessary with every use. And if you lubricate it as you use it, you're going to get a lot more use out of it before it's dull. Okay, really good now. All right, and I'm feeling to feel if I feel like it's touching anything in there, which it's not. And I'm just going to go ahead and quit now while I'm ahead, before I run it into something internal. All right, this PB blaster did another thing. I want you to see this. Or any kind of oil lubricant or something, it gives you another advantage. You see all that metal that's stuck to here? Well, now I can take that outside the door over there and just blow it off with compressed air, and that's that much less metal that's down inside the machine. I got a little pile here, and I'm sure there's some inside, but every bit that's stuck to that because of the oil is not in there. The compressed air made quick work of those metal shavings. Now I can put it back in the kit and put the kit away. Now you'd think we're done, but we're not, because there's one last thing we can do, and that is to prevent this from happening again. Because what happens is bolts, they get loose, they start backing off, and they start wobbling around, and that ruins the threads. So a little bit of Loctite on the threads, doesn't really even have to be that much, I got kind of carried away. That little bit of Loctite, and then when I assemble this, which I'm going to do right now, where'd my spring go? Uh-oh. Thank God I found it. Woo! Alright, so washer, spring, and this the washer I selected. Here's the part with the dowel pin. Dowel pin in there. Pass the bolt through there, try not to lose all my Loctite. Okay, wait, there's a little pin sticking out on this part, needs to go in that groove. Always start everything by hand before you get a tool on it. And then I like using these little short-handled ratchets because it prevents me from over-torquing things. And now since this doesn't actually have a shoulder, and it's got this spring, but it doesn't actually have the shoulder, I'm going to have to be careful about how much I tighten it. It's another reason I've got to have Loctite on this application. Because now I could have prevented that by putting a longer dowel pin, but I didn't have a longer dowel pin, and if I have trouble with this, I'll go back and do that and do a longer dowel pin that goes from the head all the way to the base here, and then I can put a little bit more tightening to it. But right now we've got enough where there's spring tension on this part, and it's working the way it should. And I just leave it there for about an hour, let the Loctite dry, and then there's how you fix a strip bolt. What other ways can you think of that this could have been fixed, or stripped bolts can be fixed? Please comment below. If there are any moving parts like this, it's a good idea to spin them. Make sure that you're not having any kind of interference. Thank you so much for staying so late in the video. In case you're wondering, this is a Kirby Model G 4D. And don't forget to come back for more repair videos on transmissions, Mustangs, Corvettes, and some exotic vehicles, and tool reviews and automotive product reviews.